Well, good morning. I don't know if you can see, but it's 7:30 and it's still fairly dark out there. So, we're going to have to do it inside again. Um yeah, I know yesterday we were late getting up. I'm hopefully to turn it around. But it's 7:30 and my sock people come at 8, so we'll have to take a look a little bit later. Anyway, get a cup of coffee, tea, whatever you like to drink. Sit back and relax, and we'll be right back with our morning talk. The city of Vancouver is not issuing any more license for alternate forms of transit, whether it be taxis or Ubers or, well, I know there's a moratorium on Ubers in BC, but they're not thinking of, there are more people coming into the city every single year, and that we're limiting the number we have available. So if tourists want to take cabs out to the airport, there's not going to be leaving much room for other people. Now, you could say, well, yeah, now the SkyTrain goes out there, but an awful lot of people don't want to take that. When you're going on a trip or coming back from a trip, oh, I don't want to go on a SkyTrain. I just really want to get home and relax. And, I think the city council is being, and maybe the provincial government is being a little far or short sighted in limiting the number of drivers that can go out there. Now, I think Uber needs to be well regulated so that, the taxi drivers who for years have put their hard work into it, and a lot of them do work hard. They work long hours, and now just because the Uber driver can run cheaper, and they only work a couple of hours a week, so they can run a cheaper car. It's ridiculous, and I'm sorry to say that if an Uber, if the province or the city allows for Uber drivers to be in the city, well, then I think, they've got to really look at how to make the playing field fair. Now, I know the people who use Ubers in other cities and everything are going to be on my case about this, but we've got to take a look and make sure that if a taxi driver's out there and they have to play by one set of rules, but these Uber drivers who can come in, they don't have to pay for licenses and everything. Well, I don't think it's fair. But, we keep looking at these things and saying, enough is enough. That we live in a country where everyone works for better wages, and that, if you're driving a car or a limousine service that and or taxis, that you've got to make sure that you are playing safe by the rules. And if you're not, well, maybe you shouldn't be allowed to do it. But there's been no evidence that Uber does do this. They just are able to come in at a lower price because there's so much stipulation on regular taxi service in BC. And, we have, that's competition. Well, it isn't competition when the city puts more pressure on you to, or you have to buy licenses and fees. Now, if an Uber has to do the exact same thing, well, then I think then the Uber can possibly compete fairly with taxis. But the Uber, I couldn't speak this morning, the Uber drivers oppose this. Of course they oppose it, where their members or drivers don't have to shell out a whole bunch of money, but their taxi drivers do. So you have to really think, what is fair here? And it's obviously not working out where things are fair right now. And I can't see why the city won't allow Uber drivers, but that's their decision. But on the other hand, I can't see why they won't allow for extra taxis. I think we've really got to wake up and listen to the people of Vancouver who want easier ways of getting around. When there's just so much traffic out there, we have to take a look and be open to be able to be moving around and being able to move around. And if we're not able to move around, people are going to stop coming to our city or a lower mainland city. So what's going to win here? I think we really have to take a look and learn from other municipalities. And, if they're going to allow Uber in here, they've got to make sure that it's all on a fair playing field. If it isn't, then, you're going to lose cab and they're just going to force them out because all the people on Uber drivers are only going to be available at certain time. Nowadays, if you pick up the phone, you can phone a cab company and pretty well be assured that you're going to be able to get a cab and to help you out to the airport or help you downtown. But, if we just allow the B&B, or not the B&Bs, the Ubers to come in and squeeze all the taxis out of the service, who's going to say that there is going to be an Uber driver available when you want one? So, I think we really have to be out there and taking a look and saying that Uber drivers are great. They offer a different level of convenience. But taxis have been working the area for years. And, all areas are going to have different levels of feelings about this. Now, if people could get Ubers, I'm sure the amount of traffic will go down. Sorry, my hair is popping up today. I don't know why. And, that would be a better all in all. I think there's enough traffic out there where, people can get a cab when they need to and don't have to when they can't. Sorry, that didn't make sense. They're able to get a cab when they need one, and, when it's busy, like New Year's Eve and such, there's not going to be such a backlog. But as I said before, we need to make sure that we play on a fair and level playing field. If we don't, then, we're not part of a democratic or free base capitalistic society. That if we need to keep charging fees on our cab drivers and not on our Uber driver, it's unfair competition. And, people would say, well, that's how the whole thing works. When someone finds ways of doing it cheaper. But when someone puts money out in order to run a vehicle, then, and we don't open it up, and all of a sudden someone comes along and they don't really have to put out with the same fees, and it's not because a taxi driver can't do business. It's because the government keeps putting tariffs on the cab industry that wouldn't be on a um, sorry, I just lost my that would not be on a Uber. So I think Ubers can be great, but if they're all faced in the same field, it's something to think about. Gotta be careful of my hand. But, you know, there's kind of a fishy study out there, and I mean that a number of studies have shown, but they're all done by travel companies or such, saying that Canadians don't use all of their vacation days. And, when don't we? And you think, oh, well, I use all my vacation days. But studies have shown that we don't use all of our vacation days. In fact, where people are being forced by their employers to take their vacation days. And, a number of us are very concerned about this because, oh, they're just trying to get rid of us. And I can remember years ago, and this is in the 90s, very early 2000s, where 7-Eleven, the company I used to work for, came to us and said, well, you haven't used all your vacation time. Well, you better use your vacation. Sorry, that was a toy of Nico's. Use your vacation time. And, it's a benefit that's given to you. And, there's always the joke, well, hand it over to me. I'll take your vacation day. But it doesn't work that way. If you take your vacation as you're needed to, then you will find, sorry, the shades, I gotta hold it in one position. Then you will find that people are going to be more productive when they get back. So, most people, when they're starting out after a year of service, get like 2 weeks of paid vacation time so that you're able, even if you don't go anywhere, that you can sleep in if you want, you can relax, recharge your batteries. But an awful lot of people still won't take them. Oh, I enjoy my job too much. And I have heard that time and time again. But on the other hand, if you don't take your vacation time and your lifetime is up, how many of us sit there and say, gee, I wish I could have had more vacation time? It doesn't happen. So take the time that's allotted to you. Relax. Go on a longer vacation if you wish. Use them up. Go on a cruise or stay at home and relax. You need to recharge your batteries. Even if you love your job, you need to be certain that you take the time. Sorry, I keep my hand in front of it. Take your time and recuperate. But all of us go, oh, no, no, no. I just want to stay at my job. Well, that could end up killing you. And, we all have problems with heart attacks being on the rise. And that's because people don't know how to relax. And we really need to learn to learn. We really need to learn to learn. We need to learn how to relax and allowing our bodies to recuperate. Something to think about. Okay, so Lululemon's threatening to move out of the country, out of Vancouver, because they say they can't compete with third world countries in their industry. And, a lot of third world countries um, don't allow, don't allow, rates are so lower that, up here we get paying for contracts. They have to pay for medical. And down in these third world countries, they don't have to worry about that. And living conditions are below our standards or even normal standards. So we have to step back and think, what makes this workable? Oh, we're going to leave if you don't allow us foreign workers. So, either way, jobs are going to be taken away from the lower mainland. Whether it be that women will shop for them, whether they're bought here or not, are available here or not, or manufactured here or not. And when do we sort of say, well, that's not working? That maybe the people in these third world countries should be paid a living wage. And, again, Donald Trump is talking about how he's going to bring jobs back to America. Well, I don't think that's feasible nowadays when there's people out there willing to work for lesser amounts. And we have to make sure that we're aware of these. And I think that we just keep thinking, oh, well, all these people are taking off and leaving these jobs. And the reason why they're leaving is simple. They can go somewhere cheaper. Sorry, I had to change here. But the living standards are so much different. In the lower mainland, things have become quite expensive. But we need to keep taking a look at where things are versus us in the real world. And, there's people out here who will work for less money because, they can live at home But, everyone wants the newest computer gadgets. But do we all really need them? And then there are some of us which are fighting for being able to eat, having a safe roof over our heads. And, things don't allow us from doing that. When your job is suddenly taken away from you because another country can deliver on a lower product. It's something really we have to think about. And I'm not trying to say that, they should all come up to our standards and we should all go down to their standards. But there has to be a level playing field. And allowing, certain clothing manufacturers to threaten that they're leaving just because they can't compete. Well, years ago, competition was talked about on sorry, I just lost my words there, was open. And that we kept looking all the time, and then if you weren't able to compete, well then, that was the problem. Now we move up, and, pretty well all the Western world now, that we're all at the same level. And the only way to go is to take your products that you need to be manufactured and taking them to a third world country. Is that a solution? I don't really seem to think that it is. We need to ensure that everyone's being paid a fair wage. And, they talk about Lululemon and whatever, going out and trying to find cheaper labor, which obviously they have found, and then coming back and say, well, we're moving if we don't get labor at a cheaper price. However, what's going to happen here? Then everyone's who doesn't make that labor or makes too much here, their wages are going to go down and people aren't going to be happy. So what's the answer? Well, if seamstress or whatever, I'm just calling them seamstress because I've seen in the window of the LuLu Lemonon on Broadway where they have kind of like an open factory, that if they all made the same wage or close to the same wage, then we wouldn't have these companies wanting to leave. Now, there's a big thing in the U.S. presidential election where one candidate's saying, well, vote for me and they'll all come back here. Well, it's great to say you're going to have all these jobs, but then you're not going to end up being paid much because all of these companies aren't going to want to be there and last because they can still get their work from outside the company or outside the country, not the company. So that's, we really have to take a look and think long and hard about this. Donald or whoever says, well, just because I'm a great businessman, they'll all bring their jobs back here. It's not going to happen. They're already gone. They're already out there because someone can get more for less. And what ends up happening is there's people going to be victimized out there in the real world. Now, that doesn't mean that we're all going to sit there and say, oh, well, that's special. They should all be paid more. Well, their living conditions are different. Everyone here has a nice home, whether it be a beautiful condo or a beautiful house or, even a basement suite is better than what a lot of these people have to face. Their diets are different, where we want to go out and we want to have all the sugary stuff, and a lot of them are fighting for day-to-day survival, and it's just whatever the people will pay them. And, if they say, well, we're going to pay you $2 a day, well, that's what the people will take because they're looking for everything that they want. Or not want. I think in this case, you're going to take a look at everything they need. And you're going to have to come out and find, well, we're going to have, when we lay out our money for items, we're going to have to find out what are our products we're buying. And do we really need them? And find out where they are made. And if they are made in a country that doesn't live up to our standards, and you're getting a very cheap product, you're going to have to ask yourself, do I really need this? Is somebody being exploited to make these? And I think in the Lower Mainland or in Canada or in the US, we've kind of reached that plateau or we've gone past that plateau. And that's why we're finding most of the jobs are leaving, because we don't have the means to pay anymore. So these companies, whether it be automobiles or athletic equipment, all are leaving because they can't find suitable employment here who's somebody who's going to work for less. Because whether you be the person that works at a McDonald's or a 7-Eleven, or whether you work a doctor or a nurse in a doctor's office or in a hospital, everyone's going to try to get the newest gadgets. Do we really need the newest gadgets? Every second, every moment a company comes down with the newest gadgets, do we really need to run out and get them? Do we not wait until our current devices or our current clothes wear out? No, we wait and try to go for every newest style. And that's not working. And now we know why we go and try to get the lowest prices, but it's not helping people out there in the real world. And we need to go and we need to stop this, and we need to ask, where was this item made as opposed to purchased? Yeah, they'll all say, yes, we were in Canada because LuLu is threatening to pull out, and other companies will threaten to pull out because there are people in third world countries that are willing to fight or willing to make these items. So we need to make sure that we're not going to buy. And, you'll find out that a lot of these companies will change their ways they do business, and that they will come back to Canada or to North America when they can make a fair living. They have to make fair living for their families, and we have to make fair living for our families. And that's what we constantly have to keep thinking about. So, having someone paid a higher wage is great. But do we stop this and say, well, they over there, we can get it made cheaper? Well, you could. However, I don't think a lot of us will want to do that. Because we don't want to exploit people. Something to think about. Exploit people or have jobs go across country or out of this country. It's a very interesting topic. Something to think about. So, we discussed about Uber versus taxis, and we talked about, our last talk was sending jobs outside of Canada because they're cheaper. It's some interesting topics today, and what we need to do is take a look and see where we are and where we're feeling about things. A lot of times we're not even looking at these things. Oh, I can get real Lululemons at such a cheap price, where most of our clothes will fit, but they're not of the newest styles and don't have the cutest little labels on them. Well, maybe we need to steer away from, all these expensive clothing items and such. And taking a look at where are these items actually meant, and how much of a profit is actually going back to the distributor or to the maker of these items. Again, all of these items, it's something we really have to think about. Well, have a great day, and we'll talk to you tomorrow, being another Friday. Yay! Have a great day. We'll talk to you.